Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome on this YouTube channel. Meanwhile, we are in our fourth chapter where we think about and around Bach's enigmatic last work, the Art of Fugue, and I've got a serious feedback. The videos are simply too long. Yes, and I understand this absolutely. Nevertheless, it is necessary sharing the sources with you and showing you the documents I'm referring to. But maybe we divide the content in little portions, and instead of one extended video, I'll try it with shorter and little ones. Well, my learning process. And by the way, this will be easier for me to produce these episodes. I have some duties in the job actually, so I can't take all the day for making videos here. Okay, as I told you last episode, in this chapter of our series, I express my scruples and doubts against these number cipherings by from what author ever, except Johann Sebastian Bach himself. Bach is the only authority who knows with certainty about any crypto he may have had hidden inside his scores. So in my perception, we have two very simple possibilities. First, we have resilient facts from Bach's handwritten sources or documents. Or second, we have them not. And mostly, we have nothing from Bach. But looking around the literature, a lot of authors doesn't seem to bother. So, let's talk about numbers and calculations, and let's refer to the Art of Fugue. We'll do it first in a mathematical and then in a creative way. I have three objections against the semantic use of numerology, and every of these is grave in my world. To keep this video short, here my first objection only in this part. The others follow soon. To get my first clear, let's imagine a little puzzle game, and let's call this paintings by numbers. Winner is the player with the most beautiful symmetrical image created from numbers. Where come these numbers from? Okay, here you have a nice game box, and in it you find some given materials. This is a couple of scores built up from 56 to 188 bars. And you have musical themes and motifs inside these scores, consisting of 12 until 41 notes. And there is a flexible material as well, and that's an unfinished fragment score. So, further, we have two tools. The first one is an inventory with some holy numbers, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 7, or 12. And for the sophisticated ones, a creative toy, which will be shipped for extra fee. Here, a generator for creating more holy numbers. Okay, and the rules. There is only single mandatory rule. And this is, you must use all the fixed materials without changing any of them. Okay? That's the only one. Use every material, every score, and don't change it. The other rules are creative ones. That's first, you may introduce any holy or important number, and you may refer to them as it seems meaningful for your purpose? Well, use the repository in your game box. Second, you may count bars or step between notes, or you count everything else. What do you think? Another rule for your calculus. Allow this whatever is meaningful for you. Basic arithmetic, Fibonacci numbers, square and other roots, golden ratios and other colored ratios, number alphabetics, whatever. Then you may not change the materials at all, but you may shift them around as you like. And if you miss additional notes or bars, the fragment is your friend. Add whatever makes sense in your world. Okay? So, last video I told you that in my eyes nearly every number Kabbalah is in 98% and above meaningless. And that sounds hard, but have a look at the creatives here in our game box above. Mathematically spoken, all these are variables. Every author may fill them independently of his own conviction. See here first, holy or important numbers, which one ever. Variable, the first one. Then counting notes, counting bars, counting whatever you want to count shortly, count what you need. Second variable. Third, shifting the single movements to whatever position you want to achieve. Yeah, again, the third variable. And here's the calculations, basic arithmetics, square and other roots, infinite rows, Fibonacci, whatever. You may use every calculation which might be meaningful in your sense and in your context. The fourth variable. And the fifth one is, of course, our unfinished fragment. This is the source for every arbitrary value. Fifth variable. And more, every of these variables may use with every other, in every possible combination. You have endless possibilities. So, and that's my big problem with all these numbers. Without Bach's written documentary, you may investigate every result you are dreaming of. Everything. That's brilliant for a novelist, but it's worthless in a scientific sense of this word. An example. This time we're referring to the Studie und Vervollständigung by Thomas Daniel, published in 2010 by Edition d'Or. Please understand me. This book has indeed well-founded parts, and these are the harmonical analysis. And he offers a chapter inside this where he shows the steps Bach develops his contrapuntal textures. That's really cool. Just his chapter about numbers is, in my eyes, edible one. Okay, Daniel smoothly changes between counting notes and counting the steps between them. I mentioned that earlier. It's our variable 2. Count what you need. Let's look at this little table here on page 63. Here, 372 bar in first group, 372 bars in canon groups, 372 bars in multi-thematic group 3. No, but wait, not the whole group, not the whole group 3. 2 double fugues resists Daniel's countings. Reminds me a bit on Asterix, don't know if you know, no? 2 small Gallic fugues resist the Roman empires of numbers. Okay, just for fun. However, Daniel counts double and triple fugues separately, but contrapuncti 8 to 11, they belong to the same group. So why does Daniel count the half group only? Maybe because of our variable 2. And why do the double fugues then have these 250 bars and not 372 as well? Yeah, no, 250 bars, because according to Daniel, Bach created only 2 double fugues from 14 contrapunti in total inside BWV 1080, yes. And those double fugues have pretty exactly 2/3 of 372 bars. Yes, of course, Microsoft Excel obviously would agree. And does that anything mean? What does it mean when the 2 fugues, also 2 fugues from 14, is this a reason that they have 250 bars? I do not understand this and found no further explanation. So for me, I'm lately on this point, I'm out here. Then the fragment S group 6 has the 372 bars as well. Of course not yet, but after completion it should have. Remember our variable 5. So, and if this fragment in fact, is this fragment in fact its own group, or is this a single final fugue, a final fugue with shifting then behind the other 5 groups? Variable 4. But what happens in this case with Bach's group architecture? And why these 372 bars at all? Maybe a holy number, 3 plus 7 plus 2 is 12, variable 1, yeah, holy numbers. Daniel himself do not know this. This number cannot be determined conclusively, as he writes at page 65. Okay, and all this number Kabbalah leaving out here. Perhaps you may not determine this very exact value, but if you do not insist on the precise amount of this 372, then the size becomes obvious, and I'll show you this in the next video. But for this one, maybe you can understand that in this argumentation I everywhere see variables that are filled with basically arbitrary values. Arbitrary, while unsupported from Bach's handwritings. So, and finally for today, I turn the argumentation from the feet to its head. This is here's my more creative example how you may explain everything with counting anything. I use a little arrangement about 2 minutes length from a song most of you will probably know. It's a Christmas carol from Himmel hoch, da komm ich her by Martin Luther. Also ist es in English, ne? From heaven above to earth I come, da 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 da. So weiter. Yeah, promise not to sing. Okay. And here the next is an arrangement of my own, because here I can talk with certainty about any inner number Kabbalah I've probably used or not probably used. No, here I know it. Okay, let's see. The first cantus line has 8 notes. Ne? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so 8. And which does not belong to the most important holy numbers. A 7 would be better. But that's no problem. Let's divide the cantus into small melodic cells, and then we'll get our loved 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Genau die Hälfte. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So. And then next I'll take this cantus firmus as canon, also diam, diam, badam, 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 or better, as an inverted one, inverted canon, modo contrario, dam, diam, badam, 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 okay? And if I do so, for the entire song, yes, I get 30 bars. Exactly, yes, plus one final tone, but so 30 bars. And together with a little choir and piano, the part with the cantus canon might look like this score here. And at the end, I've added a little coda. And while thinking these days about this numerological episode, I put 2 imitation bars to the very beginning. Now the entire arrangement sums up to 40 bars. And for recreation here, this little piece I played for you. Yeah, have fun for those 2 minutes. A happy soprano in good mood may be delighted, challenging the upper C in the end. But nevertheless, as you may see, 40 bars, exactly.
40 bars. For heaven's sake, who should care about 40 bars? One more, one less. Who should even recognize such a number as meaningful?
4. The number of earth, multiplied with 10. The number of God's righteousness.
And inside the cantus firmus part with its only 30 bars, it bases obviously to the number of Trinity,
which then is again multiplied with 10.
And that meets the content of Luther's text perfectly, right? And goes seamless with the Christmas message, which is God kingdom, the 3, in midst of our world, the 4. And more, here in the score, there's my signature in it. Doch, really? You see, the 8 and the 11, these are the numbers of my birthday, encrypted in the voice of the chorus. Okay, if I count here notes under slurs at 1 and there I do not, that doesn't matter. It's our variable 2 again, and we have already noticed the fluid change between counting notes or steps between them in Daniel's book. Okay, 8 and 11. And if I would die tomorrow, I'd left the world my miraculous canonical opus. Yes? Well, nonsense. I do not plan on dying tomorrow, and I did not plan this 8-11 stuff. That I found today while I was making the script for this video. I've got the spontaneous idea to count my own stuff. Lo and behold, I found my birthday here. And basically we are talking about the art of fugue. So you need a Bach number. Oh dear ones, it's no problem. See, we already have it by dividing the cantus firmus in 2 times 7 notes, 14. And it's a canon, so of course its sister here has these 14 notes as well. And if we give our chorus piece here a little piano solo at the end, one more bar to our existing 40 bars, and well, 40 plus 1. Hey, you don't need an degree in advanced mathematics to recognize Bach's ubiquity in this score everywhere, right? I've even found the number 12. That's impressive, don't you think so? Well, in this case, welcome to my cabaret program. Yes, nothing from this arises because of my number-mythological DNA or something like this. It's I know it. This is my own score. It's my own stuff. I really know this. Yeah, all these numbers are simply consequence of Luther's template, and they are there because of the music's periodical structure and its canonical metric, nothing more. Just respecting the musical forms is sufficient for getting numerical proportions and every number Kabbalah as a gift, a present, which I enjoy, no question. Or put another way, when I write in periodical categories and within traditional musical forms and symmetries, I almost inevitably get a result with those balanced proportions. If I respect a geometrical layout, maybe it could be a challenge getting in result something else than symmetry. Yeah, and of course, those results may then be filled with numerological content as well. And think about this, if those kinds of proportion happens already to a simple organist, what will happen when a genius like Johann Sebastian Bach starts to write? So, my opinion is that musical symmetry has been deeply rooted in Bach's mind. We have contemporary testimonials about Bach's ability making contrapuntal interconnection in his head only. My image from Bach, especially from late Bach, is this: in his inner sense, Bach thought deeply proportional. He felt in form and musical geometries, and consequently he just created them. Probably he was on a deeply emotional base, unable to write any kind of disordered music. Yeah, and then the music theorists take the stage, counting every ink stain from Bach, whichever they found, and shaking their heads about the unbelievable symmetry. A riddle how Bach did this. Well, do you know Ramanujan? One of the most breathtaking mathematicians I ever may imagine. Mathematics was Ramanujan's DNA. He found here in the background those unbelievable, totally amazing formulas in inner dialogues with his Hinduistic goddess Namagiri. And how? Well, he just did it without leaving testimonies from his creative workflow. Okay, and Bach The same. Musical geometry was part of Bach's DNA and part of his personality. He found his musical architecture in his inner dialogues with Jesus Christ. And how? Well, he just did it without leaving testimonies from his creative workflow. And with this kind of confession, I'll end for today. Next episode, I'll give additional reasons against numerology, in my view, and afterwards we'll start with the promised quadruple fugue layout. If you like, we'll meet us then. All the best and have a nice day, stay healthy and bye.